It is said that a real genius can be recognized by being able to foresee potential scenarios, and also by planning many things ahead of time, thanks to which he is prepared even for the worst. Big Smoke may not have been a genius, but as it turns out, he could plan quite well and meticulously pursue his goal. Big Smoke had a great plan in his head, which was to allow him to become the undisputed king of Los Santos, and perhaps in the future, also of the entire state of San Andreas. Of course, we know that CJ stood in his way, eventually interrupting his plans. But the question is, what if CJ had failed to do so? And what was Big Smoke's plan in general? In this episode, we'll try to answer this question. Welcome back to the Gaming Investigators channel, and let's get to work. On the one hand, Big Smoke did not foresee many things and made many mistakes. Big Smoke also couldn't cover up his intentions, which we've talked about a lot before in other episodes, such as the one about Big Smoke's betrayal. However, when we analyze the further fate of this character, it turns out that the man had everything well thought out. Let's first take a look at the situation in which Big Smoke found himself after the mission, the Green Sabre. It wasn't until Sweet was arrested and CJ was shipped away from Los Santos that Big Smoke could really spread his wings. The man had a very good relationship with the Ballas, who was eager to get into the drug business with the Loco Syndicate. Frank Tenpenny and co. had quite a bit covered, but in the end, they gave Smoke a free hand. But of course, it wasn't like Tenpenny was losing control. First, Big Smoke had to give Tenpenny a hefty share of his drug business as a sort of bribe. Moreover, if Big Smoke wanted to turn against Tenpenny, the corrupt cop would simply take Big Smoke into custody, straight to prison, and that would be the end of the GSF trader's adventure. And admittedly, this psychological blackmail worked, and it kept Big Smoke in check, at least for a while. That's because Big Smoke was already too powerful, and the Crash unit had already done some bad things, so it would be extremely hard to hold Big Smoke on the leash, but more on that later. In turn, another obvious issue was that Grove Street families pretty much had to enter dealing crack cocaine to survive, which, as we remember, Sweet did not want to allow. Naturally, Big Smoke wanted to ensure that everything will go according to plan in every little aspect, but he forgot one thing, namely that the Ballas had no intention of working with the Grove Street boys. As a result, over the next few days, the Grove Street families disappeared from the map, and the members who remained alive had two options: either join the Ballas side or hide outside the ghetto, with only a faint hope that someday a savior would arrive. As you can probably guess, the majority leaned toward the first option, and it's not surprising. The risk of biting the dust by picking the second option was enormous. The same was the case with OGs whose death when going against the Ballas was almost certain. The perfect example is Ryder, who certainly also saw no better option than to obey Big Smoke. If he hadn't, he would probably have been assassinated, as was the case with Sweet, as we saw in the introduction movie. Of course, from our point of view, the man could theoretically remain loyal and leave Los Santos with no problems. But apart from the fact that the creators decided otherwise, looking at the human aspect and Ryder's decision, this option seemed the most reasonable. It simply increased his chances of survival, and what's more, it gave him a chance to get rich. By the way, we recommend you watch the episodes where we analyze both of Ryder's concepts. Both the one where he wasn't supposed to be a traitor and the one where Ryder turns against his gang in the end. You'll find those videos displayed in the tab right now. Coming back to the point, the first thing Big Smoke wanted to achieve was to unite the gangs. Several factors ultimately contributed to the decision made by Big Smoke. First of all, Big Smoke rightly noticed that uniting factions of a given gang is a very good move, which we had the opportunity to witness in the mission reuniting the families. But in the end, everything was interrupted by a police raid. First and foremost, the unification would be beneficial in terms of increasing the potential strength of the entire organization. It would then be much easier to gain much more influence and organize meetings or look for new contacts. You can simply follow the saying here: strength in numbers. Moreover, it would prevent other criminal organizations from looking at a gang disrespectfully and would think at least twice before trying to attack such a gang. The second reason was related to the Crash unit. We're talking about the blackmail we mentioned earlier. As long as Big Smoke is only friends with the Ballas, there's no guarantee the gang will protect him, especially since the man grew up on Grove Street. That's why Big Smoke needed protection from a corrupt cop in the beginning. Tenpenny could effectively stop the Ballas in case they wanted to do something stupid. Well, although the Ballers are a powerful gang, we sincerely doubt that they would like to make enemies with a corrupt police unit that can effectively stop them if it wanted to. We can be sure that if the Ballers didn't play by Tenpenny's rules and turned against him, the repercussions from Los Santos law enforcement would be very strong indeed, and the Ballers would quickly learn this the hard way, which, of course, wouldn't be good for them. Furthermore, Big Smoke needed to establish good relations with other gangs such as Los Santos Vagos, San Fierro Rifa, and the Russians. Big Smoke knew that if he succeeded, he would be virtually untouchable. And that's one of the reasons why he seemed so confident during the cutscene in the end-of-the-line mission. He had several gangs under his command that joined forces for the sake of drug interests, despite many differences. Business and money were simply more important than having bad blood. This also led to Big Smoke knowing he could stand up to Tenpenny. We can see information of this in the final mission of the game, where it's clear from Big Smoke's statement that he does not care about Tenpenny, Pulaski, or even the entire police department of Los Santos because no one will try to kill the powerful drug lord, the almighty Big Smoke.
Man, you and Tenpenny.
Man, fuck Tenpenny, and fuck his Polish lapdog, and fuck the police, man. Oh, that's old shit. Look at you, you got the whole world. I ain't got no regrets, man.
Smoke, you had...
I made it, CJ. I'm a success. I can't be touched.
So by combining these four criminal organizations, Big Smoke could once and for all free himself from the Crash Squad, which would have practically no arguments. All this shows that Big Smoke was doing whatever it takes to reach his goal. He befriended a variety of people, but he knew the time would come to betray some of them. And he knew that he would do it for money and power without a second thought. Big Smoke overnight became a serious player in the arena of the entire state of San Andreas. But even with millions earned from drug activities, the man knew that he should ensure that his image and reputation were presented in the best possible light. It was similar to the infamous Escobar, who was perceived by the local community as a philanthropist and generally a person who cares about the fate of ordinary people. In this regard, Big Smoke undertook two things that could positively impact his PR. The first one was becoming the manager of OG Loc, who has recently ascended to the heights of hip-hop music thanks to the help of CJ. Since OG Loc was a close friend of Big Smoke, he had no hesitation in letting Big Smoke represent him. And even if he would have a problem, Smoke's money was definitely a solid argument to work with him nonetheless. And if you're wondering how we know this, here's an excerpt from an interview with OG Loc on Entertaining America, where the host of the show played an excerpt from a press conference where Big Smoke defended OG Loc in the context of his career despite what he's done in the past.
Wow, those sound like some great rules. You know, you get a lot of flack in the media these days. At a recent press conference, your manager came to your defense.
A lot of people say gangster rap is misogynistic posturing by fake-ass idiots who spend more time in drama school than they ever did pimping or hustling dope. Well, I assure you, OG Loc is the real thing. He's hated women all his life. He's sold drugs to school children. He's murdered innocent people just for kicks. But he rhymes like an angel. And I assure you it's all in a good cause. So either way, you can feel good about yourself listening to this music.
So, as you may have heard, Big Smoke got into being OG Loc's manager. It's worth emphasizing, however, that the man did not do it selflessly. Note that Big Smoke made a lot of money from illegal activities. Such money must somehow be put into circulation, so that it's covered and so that it looks like it was earned legally. To do this, you need to launder the money, and to launder the money, you need to create some legal forms of activity. One of them was becoming the manager of OG Loc. The second idea that many drug lords use is investments. A good example is Tommy Vercetti, who uses many businesses to launder money there. Additionally, Vice City is somewhat grateful to him because his illegal activities can be said to make the economy flourish. Although we must not forget that it also harms society terribly, of course. Big Smoke had the same idea when he opened an orphanage in Los Santos for the poorer part of society. We won't find out about it from the storyline itself, but we will hear this information in the news of WCTR.
And more positive news came from street good guy Big Smoke, who today unveiled his new orphanage in a ceremony in Los Santos.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'd just like to say this is a the impoverished and disadvantaged of Los Santos. And it's a real honor that I am as generous as I am. I remember when I was a little boy, my dear mother would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, Mom, I want to be a savior. It's a great opportunity. The Big Smoke Orphanage teaches kids important skills. I was an orphan. I struggled. I saw friends make mistakes and get pulled from the path of righteousness. But now, thanks to the generosity of a great man like me, kids is gonna be saved. Big Smoke, baby! Remember the name!
Going to the summary of today's video, in our opinion, Big Smoke's plan is one of the most interesting ones in the entire Grand Theft Auto series. The man, as befits a real businessman of the criminal underworld, began to take advantage of many opportunities. While we all know that Big Smoke's main focus was on getting dirty money from drugs, he wanted to contribute a bit to society in all this. Although, here, as always, the question arises whether the ends justifies the means. Let us know what you think about it. And if you like this episode, be sure to watch the episodes that are displayed on the screen, because you'll learn even more about the topic we discussed today. In the meantime, thanks for watching and see you in another video. Bye!